Welcome to Dialpad 101. I want to start by just reading you the objective of this course. So by the end of today's session, you should feel confident in using Dialpad to make and receive phone calls and text messages via both the desktop as well as the mobile application. You'll know how to adjust your personal settings and the status within the application and have a good understanding of how to access Dialpad support or help resources if necessary. And I also want to mention that while we're focusing on two access points today, the desktop and the mobile app, Dialpad is also available from a web browser, and it's also available if anyone in here has a desk phone. One of the cool things about it is you can switch calls between those devices without the user knowing. So if you're on the desktop app and you need to head down the hallway, you can switch that call live over to your mobile app and keep moving down the hallway. So with all of that, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah to walk you through Dialpad.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you guys for coming.
So a quick show of hands of who has already logged into the Dialpad application. Okay, most of you, great. So just in case anybody who is joining us via Zoom has not logged in yet, you will open the application on your computer. It will look like this. You will click login with another provider, and then it will ask you to enter the domain, which is apu.edu. Once you submit that, it'll open up a browser to the central authentication page, and the sign-in will be successful, and I can open Dialpad that way. This is the Dialpad application. This is where you will make and receive phone calls and send text messages and handle voicemails and handle all of your calls here. We're first going to start off with going through your personal settings, and then we'll come back to this to show you guys how to place a call. So to access your personal settings, in the top right, you'll click on your initials, or if you have added a photo already, your photo. And then from here, you can click Profile. This will open a web browser and take you to your settings. You can also access this just by going to dialpad.com/settings, and it will bring you to your individual user settings. So here's where I can update my name. If I've had a name change, I can put my pronouns, I can add my job title. And so this is what the other people in the APU organization will see. If maybe your default name is something else, but you're better known by a different name, so that they can search you here. You'll save those changes. You can see your own personal direct Dialpad number, as well as Azusa Pacific University's mainline number. You can see your Dialpad meetings number. This number is useful if you want to host like a conference call on a bridge. This is the number and PIN you would share with the other participants of that conference call. You can set your default caller ID, so you can have it be your own direct line, or you can set the caller ID to the office main line. So that when you place an outbound call, this is the number that will show up. And this will be like the default setting, although you can still, when we're placing a call, I'll show you, you can toggle between any numbers that you have access to when placing a call. You can adjust the language and the time zone, set a voicemail PIN number for your voicemail box. For Dialpad AI, you can turn this on. What this is we allow live transcription of calls. So the calls are written out for you while you're on the call. You can, we'll show you how this works. And you can turn this on or off for your calls, depending on if this is something you want to have a transcript of your calls afterwards to reference.
This is a really key value of Dialpad. We've been doing live transcription now for 5 or 6 years, but there's a number of cool features that are coming out that leverage that technology. One of them is called recaps. And so when you have a phone call with someone, at the end of that, Dialpad will soon provide a recap, so you don't have to read the whole transcription. So it'll tell you who was on the call, what the purpose of the call was, what was discussed briefly, what the resolution was, and what the next steps are, in a very concise little paragraph, so you don't have to go back and read all that.
Thank you, Keith. All right, moving on to call handling and voicemail. So this is where you can set a custom voicemail greeting or upload a recording. You can also select the box to receive email notifications for new voicemails. So say you don't want to have the Dialpad app open all the time, but you do want a notification if you get voicemails, it can go into your email, and from there you can read what the voicemail says. It will send you a recap that you can read in your email. For call blocking and spam prevention, I know a lot of us get spam calls all the time now. So, blocking anonymous callers or blocking callers that have a high spam score based on, what the carrier sees of their call activity. You can block calls that way to receive less spam calls. For call handling, you can choose to have call waiting options. So if you're already on the call with someone and a second call comes in, you can toggle between the two calls. If not, you can also set it up so if a second call comes in, that second caller receives a busy signal, or it can go to the advanced missed call routing options. Typically, people would just send the calls to voicemail if you miss a call. But you can also forward it to a team member here, or you can have it go to just an automated message without a voicemail box, or forward to a different department or person. To set your personal working hours, you can have it so it says you always take call 24/7, you'll get a call notification, or you can set it during specific working hours only. So right now, these ones are set Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Any calls that come in outside of those hours will go to my advanced missed call routing. And in this instance, I have voicemail selected. You can set up an SMS auto reply. So if you go out of office and receive a text message, you can set up an auto reply so that the other person receives an automatic text message saying, I'm out of office, and so on. You can put up custom hold music.
There is a place where you can download Azusa's recording as well. I don't know if you guys want to say where that it's at.
Reach out to support and we'll provide the link to Google Drive, and it's available for everyone.
Yep. And then for your safety, this is super important. So if you were to call 911 from your Dialpad application, it will put you through to an operator, and the address that you put in this field in your settings will be the address the 911 operator receives. So APU is asking you guys to put that address as your office, even if you are a hybrid employee. Dialpad can make calls to 911, but sometimes we recommend using your personal cell phone over the carrier network to call 911 in case of emergencies, because they have a more precise location than Dialpad can provide. So use your discretion in case of emergency about, which platform to call from. I would recommend, if possible, calling from over the carrier network from your personal device.
Skip that part, over to the Dialpad app.
Okay.
Talk about the navigation bar at the top and the status.
All right, so this is your Dialpad application. Across the top here, there's a few different options. There's a phone to make a call, a little chat bubble to send messages, a video for Dialpad meetings. There's a gear icon. This is where you will set up your hardware settings. So if you use a headset, this is where you'll pick that device. If you are using like a microphone or a specific speaker, this is where you choose those various devices.
Otherwise, it will default to the settings for your computer. So if those settings are fine, you can leave it at default. But if you want specific microphone and speaker for your calls that are different from your computer settings, you want to come in here and adjust that.
If you click where your initials are, this is where you can set your status. So say I am out sick today and I want everybody in the APU organization who's trying to reach me to know that, I can go ahead and update my status there. You can also turn on Do Not Disturb. This will pause notifications until you return and toggle Do Not Disturb off. So personally, I use this. I have my settings for my dial pad, always accept calls 24/7. If I know there's a time I don't want to receive calls or texts on dial pad, I'll just toggle into do not disturb. The indicator light right here on your circle shows if you are available, if you're on a call, if you're in do not disturb, and you will be able to see that status for other folks in the APU company. And I'll show you that in just a second.
So it'll be red if you're on a call and everyone will see that. It'll be green if you're available. It'll be orange if the system recognizes you have a meeting on your Google Calendar.
Yes, so if you go into contacts here and look in the directory, you can see Adam here is red. And then the academic advising is green, so you can call them. You can call Adam too, but this is just an indicator that he may be busy or in a meeting right now. What was next?
Okay, caller ID selection and searching.
So should we do a test call yet?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to actually place a call. So there's many different ways to do it, but the easiest way is to click the call button, the little phone on the top left, and that will bring up this keypad. So you can either type in the number on your keyboard, you can type the number manually by clicking, or you can search for one of your contacts. So I am going to place a call to Keith. I see his indicator light is green. Even if it wasn't green, I could still call, but that's just good to know that he is actually available right now. At the top, I can choose what number I'm calling out of. So right now, this is me, and this is my direct phone number. This will be the number that appears to Keith. However, I'm also in a dial pad department. If I wanted to call from a department number, I could toggle to that one and then make the call as the department. For this instance, I'm just going to call as myself. So I searched Keith, I found him up here up top, and I'm going to click start a call. What this is bringing up is my call history with Keith. So I can scroll up, I can see all of our incoming outbound calls. I can see our text messages that we've had between each other. And then what just popped up that I quickly X'd out of was that transcript. So I have muted myself, but you can see the transcript started here. It's super helpful if you're multitasking and then want to go back and read what happened during the call. You can do that live or after the call. So all of your call controls are going to be down here on this bottom bar. So you can mute and unmute, you can hold. And when I put Keith on hold, this little purple box on the left-hand side is going to tell you how long he's been on hold, which is next to the timer of the actual duration of the call. You can transfer, and we'll go over that in just a second. Once the call is not holded, you have access to a keypad. So say you make a call and you need to dial someone's extension from the soft phone. This is like your keypad that you would typically, put on that desk phone. For more, you can add a third party. So Keith and I are talking and, we want to call Rob. We can add him and join him into the call by clicking add a participant. And then we could type his name in here. And click his name, confirm. It's going to call him, and then he will be joined on the line with Keith and I. Got the call. Perfect. All right. So now all three of us are on a call. And then you can manage the participants here. So say I've said what we've needed to say to Rob. I can go ahead and hang up with him there and then keep the call on with Keith and I. From there, you can share a screen. So even if Keith were not an APU member of our company, you can click share screen, show which screen you want to share, the entire one, start sharing. And what that will do is it will send Keith a text message with a link to open to see the screen share, which is really cool because even if Keith weren't in Dialpad, he would receive it on his actual iPhone and it would look just like all the other texts that he receives. And then he would have a link to click to be able to open it and view my screen. I can stop sharing the screen there. Of course, we can record any calls. You can have the settings say this call is being recorded so that it will let him know, and then I can stop recording if I need to as well. And then all the way at the right, you can hang up the call. Did I miss anything in
No.
this?
Do you want to show how to handle multiple calls coming in?
Yes, so, oh, this says, how is the call quality? So you can rate the call here. We do ask for people to rate the calls because this helps us better track if you guys are experiencing call qualities issues, then this is something that we can dig into with your IT team to make sure that you guys have the correct setup or network issues are taken care of and things like that. So please rate the calls, it really helps us out. So I'm going to show you guys what will happen during call waiting. So I'm going to start a call with Rob here. Call him. Okay, great. So he has answered. And then Keith, will you give me a call?
Of course. So I can see here, Sarah is showing a red icon, meaning she's on the phone. I don't care. I'm going to call her anyhow.
Okay, so since I'm on the phone, this pop-up comes up and it gives you 3 options. If you have the call waiting option selected in your settings, I can answer the call, which will hold my current call with Rob. I can merge the 2 participants together on a 3-way call, or I can decline Rob's call, or sorry, Keith's call. So in this instance, I'm going to go ahead and answer it. And then this immediately puts Rob on hold up here. So I have all the same call controls with Keith. I have my conversation with Keith. But now I actually need to go back and tell Rob something. So I'm going to resume with Rob, and Keith's call is going to go back up here in the left-hand corner. And so that's how you can toggle between the 2. Say I am done talking to Keith, but I want to continue with Rob. I can, transfer Keith somewhere else. I can merge the calls or end the call from up here, clicking these 3 dots on the right-hand side. So I'm going to go ahead and end with Keith. And then you can rate the call.
Okay.
What's next?
Texting.
Cool. So I'm going to hang up with Rob. And to send a text message, I am going to click the message icon in the top. And I am going to search for a participant to send a message to. So I am going to message Keith. And I'm going to send him a text. Because he is also an internal user at APU, this is what it will look like for him. But I can also send a text message to an outside number. And I missed the number. And so this UI, or the user interface for me, is going to look the same in Dialpad, but this is going to a personal cell phone number that is not related to Dialpad or APU. And so it will look like a regular text message on their end. I can also send a message from a department or a shared line. So you can toggle your caller ID at the top, just like you could for a phone call as well. Keep in mind, if you are in a department and you send a message from the department line, other operators within that department will be able to see those text messages and also respond to those text messages.
Can we double back to the search, the main search at the top, and show how powerful it is?
Yes, quickly, I'm going to send a message to you from a department line. So in this conversation, you can see this is from Dialpad department. So it'll be clearly labeled. And then if you go into the departments on the left-hand panel and you click into messages, you'll be able to view the conversations that are being held from that shared line. So if you or any other operators have been sending text messages and having conversations, it'll show up here. Okay. Yes, no worries. So no, that's okay. So to reiterate, to send a message, you'll click the chat icon here up at the top. You'll choose which caller ID you want to send it from. In this instance, I'm going to do the department. I'm going to send Rob a message this time. It's clearly labeled that this is going to be from a department and not your direct line. I'm sending Rob the message. And you can see the history between the department number and Rob here. If you click on the left-hand side, dial pad department. This will show you all of the, missed calls, messages, voicemails, recordings, particular to that department. So these messages here are between the department and Rob, between the department and Keith, between this phone number and the department. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yes. And then, so I wanted to mention too, the search function in Dialpad. So
It was right at, if you missed it, it was right at the top of the screen. There's a global search that really searches the entire Dialpad system for Azusa.
say, I searched the word hi. I know I said hi to somebody today, but I couldn't remember who. So if I search that and then I click messages, it's going to pull up all the messages that I have said or have received that say that word. So this is super helpful because it can also apply to calls in the transcript as well. So say you had a call with somebody, you forget who it was, but you know you talked about XYZ. If you search XYZ, it'll pull up those calls and show you where in the transcript you said that.
So it's great because it'll search personal contacts, the global address book, messages, calls, meetings, as well as channels. And it's a great way to find something you know you had a conversation with someone 3 months ago about a certain topic, and you can't remember who you spoke to. You can just search for a keyword, and it'll show you where that keyword was spoken.
All right, so I want to take a look at a previous call that I had with Keith. And so I navigate to my favorites, because if you click the star next to somebody's name, that either puts them as a favorite where you can have them saved at the top on the left-hand side. And then I want to view a call that I had with Keith earlier today. So I'm going to come to our conversation and click view call details. And this is going to open the browser and show the transcript of the call. If I had recorded the call, I would be able to play the recording here. It's going to list any highlights of the call. I've been immediately putting things on mute, so the transcript's pretty short, but this is where you would be able to see that. If you click into call history here on the left-hand side and click my calls, you can view all of your own calls, and you can search by date or, keyword. But say that Keith called me and he was like, I was on hold for, 20 minutes before I got a hold of you. I can go in and look at the call journey by clicking these 3 dots here on the right-hand side and click call journey, and I can see the history of the call. So maybe Keith has been transferred from enrollment over to the health center over to me, and he's been getting the runaround. This is where I can kind of see the history of that call. In addition to that, I can create a playlist to add the song to. So I only have access to my call recordings, but say Keith and I had a really great call and I wanted to share that recording with a colleague, I can add it to a playlist and then share that playlist with the colleague so that they can have access only to the recordings that I want them to see. So I am going to add this one to test and save that. And then I can go into the test playlist and manage it from here and share the playlist link.
That's it there.
What's next?
Channels.
Oh, perfect. So back to the application, you can create what is called a Dialpad channel, which is a group message for internal APU staff members. From the Dialpad app, if you click the 3 little dots next to the channels title and you click create a new channel, you can name it HR department. And you can create it as a public channel or as private. If it's public, that means that anybody can search it and join it. If it's private, they have to be invited to the channel. So I'm going to create this as a private channel, and I'm going to add some users. I'm going to add them. And now we have a group message started. Again, this one is just internal. You can have external group text messages. That's a little bit different than this just internal messaging here. What else?
Oh, sorry. That's it for there. You want to browse public channels? Just show, I mean, it's not a lot, but
Yes, so hopefully as you guys are getting onto Dialpad, you will have more channels being added in here, but you can take a look and see what other channels are. There might be something helpful, like research and grants. You can join and preview the channel to see what they're talking about and see if that's relevant for you to join.
and the mobile app.
Okay, so we will move on to the mobile application. This is my dog. His name is Tommy. So in the mobile application, the settings are very similar to the desktop application we just looked at. So a lot of this won't be surprising. You can set your status from the mobile application. You can put yourself in do not disturb from the mobile application. I don't have Wi-Fi right now for some reason, so bear with me on that, but you can change your outbound caller ID just like you could on the desktop application. You can adjust which personal notifications you receive to your cell phone. If it rings this device, that's a good one to highlight because you can have it ring your mobile application, but say you step out of the office or your laptop's closed, you can also have it ring your cell phone to know that an incoming call is coming in. You can switch between light and dark mode. We also have dark mode available on the desktop app as well. HD calling is one thing to highlight. I would recommend having this turned on to allow for better call quality over Wi-Fi. Include calls in recents list. So on your iPhone, if you click into your phone settings on the actual iPhone, not in the Dialpad app, and view recent calls, if you have this toggled on, it will include recent Dialpad calls on your actual cell phone. So if you don't want your recent Dialpad calls to be on your personal device's recent list, turn that off. And then outside of the settings, your home is going to essentially look like that left-hand panel that we saw on the desktop application. So you can view your favorite contacts, you can view your conversations, your previous calls, your text messages with each contact. You can view your department. You can see all the messages your department has received. You can see all the voicemails in that department, and you can see the recordings of calls within that department as well. You can view channels and the conversations within your channels, as well as just viewing your own inbox. So you can see individual calls, you can see your own missed calls, your own voicemails, contacts. You can browse different departments, you can browse the directory of all contacts, and as well as just a regular keypad just to make an outbound phone call. Here you'll also see that you have the ability to toggle between your outbound caller ID, just as you did in the desktop application.
Over to support.
You can also send a text message from the Dialpad application, and it's on the right-hand side, that little chat bubble to send. You also have the capability to search, just as we showed you in the desktop application. And again, it will search your messages and show you, I don't have Wi-Fi, so it's not actually going to search right there, but it will have the same functionality as the application. So with all of that being said, if you guys run into any call quality issues, anytime the app isn't working as intended or as it's supposed to, you can reach out to our support team, and you guys have access to our support team 24/7. So a way to access that is from this application at the top right-hand corner. If you click help, that's the help center.
That's okay, you can get it good on.
No. So if you click help, you can search for any sort of topic in the help center. So if you forgot how to transfer a call, you can search for it here, and then an article will pop up to tell you how to. If that's really not working for you and you still can't figure it out, you can also click contact us. And if you scroll down to the bottom of this page, you can start a live chat. This will be a quick way to talk with an agent about any issues that you're having, or you can call that number down at the bottom or submit a request. The request is more similar to an email, and so I don't recommend that if this is kind of like a big issue that you're having and you're unable to make phone calls. I always recommend, doing a live chat or calling in for the quickest resolution.
So there's 3 ways to get help. You can search the help articles, which are updated every week with all the new enhancements. You can contact Dialpad, and Sarah pointed out there's 3 ways to do that: chat, call, or submit a web request, and you'll get an email response. I think it opens up a Zendesk ticket. Is that right?
Mhm.
Yep. And then the 3rd way is to reach out to Azusa support. And the team here is really right now focused on configuration and setup, and porting over the numbers, those sorts of things, to make sure that the transition is smooth.
So if you think that the way that Dialpad is working isn't quite exactly how you want it, I would definitely either check with the help center, check with our support team, or check with the APU team to see if there is a way to achieve what you were looking for, in case it's not quite what you expected, because there are a lot of different pathways we can take to help make sure that the call routing is how you want it, or how the application's working in a way that is beneficial to your workflow.